Hi guys, and welcome back to another video in this week's Dear Piggy Java tutorial. So in this week's video, we are going to be working on if statements as well as if-else statements. So this is our first step to really starting to get our coding right? We're really going to take it up and bring the intensity up another notch, right? So if statements are going to be closely related with logical operators. So if you haven't already, go ahead and take a peek at our math and logical operators video. Skip to the middle and just watch the logical operators part. Okay, so if statements are going to basically run a test through your code. And if your statement, if your condition is true, then it's going to return you, it's going to run the action that you tell it to. If your statement is not true, then it's not going to do anything. So let me go ahead and do an example for you guys to see. Okay, so this was our code from before. Let's get rid of it. So this is sort of the format for an if statement. We would start off with the word if, then in your parentheses, we're going to put our condition. So your condition goes here. Then do your curly braces, and your action, if condition is true, goes inside of these curly braces. So please, please, please be careful, guys, and do not get your curly braces mixed up, right? This curly brace corresponds with the other one that's highlighted. This curly brace corresponds with this curly brace, and then this if statement has its own curly brace. Now the things that you want to do, if the condition is true, have to go in between these two curly braces. We use so many curly braces in Java because Java is a block scoped language. So please don't get your curly braces mixed up. It's kind of the point here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and give it a simple condition. So let's just say if 30 is greater than 21, then we're going to print out system.out.println. Yes, 30 is greater than 21. Okay, so I need a semicolon here. Based on what we see, we know that this is our condition. And so this is our condition. When we run it, it's going to return either true or false, right? So is 30 greater than 21, guys? Hopefully you guys said true. And since it's true, then this statement is going to get processed. So only if this line 3, if this is true, then it's going to come in and run this line. However, if this line over here is false, then it's going to directly skip what's inside of the if statement. It's not even going to look at it. Okay, just to verify that, run your code, and you're going to print out, yes, 30 is greater than 1. So that means that this statement is true. However, if I did 19 is greater than 21, which in this case, you'll see that Replit is already saying dead code. So basically, Replit is already telling us like, hey, Sunny, not to like wake you up from your bubble here, but 19 is not greater than 21. Your code in here is not going to get run. Nonetheless, I'm going to run it just to kind of show you guys, and you'll see that really nothing is going to happen. As you'll see here, the code has stopped running, but nothing got printed out because this condition is false. It's not true, which means that none of this code gets run, which means that nothing ends up getting printed out. So that's an example of our if statement. Now another thing I could do is I could create my variable here. So int my num is equal to 15. Now in here I could say if my num, and this is where we're going to use logical operators. So if we're saying if my num is greater than 10 and my num is less than 100. Okay, so what this is saying is since we're using the AND operator, both of these statements have to be met. Both of them have to be true, right? So 15 is greater than 10, yes. 15 is less than 100, yes. So both of these are correct, so this entire statement is true, which means that yes, the statement is true. So yes, this works. Run your code and you'll see that the if statement successfully gets run and it says yes, the statement is true, right? So this is the if statement. It's going to, based on whatever condition you put in between the parentheses here, it's going to verify whether or not it's true. And if it's true, it's going to run the code in its next block. And if it's false, it's just going to move on to whatever line comes next. Right, so that was if statements. Now, if-else statements are another layer building on top of if statements. So if-else statements, else is essentially like a safety net to catch the false statements. So over here, I'm going to purposely make this incorrect. So if my num is less than 10 and if my num is less than 100. Now, look at here, guys. My num is less than 10. Is 15 less than 10? No. Is 15 less than 100? Yes. However, since the logical operator we've used here is and means that both have to be true. But only in this case, only one of them is true. So that means that this is going to return false. If it returns false, is this going to get printed out? No, it's not. So when you'll see here, you're going to run your code and you're going to see that nothing happens because, well, you didn't tell it what to do, in which case this is false. So this is where else comes in. So after this curly brace here, so after these pairs of curly braces, please, guys, do not get your curly braces messed up. Remember, curly braces always come in pairs. So if you see one without a friend, something is wrong. That's kind of like my motto. Curly braces are like inseparable friends. If you separate them, they're going to die. Your code is going to break. So go ahead and add else here and add another pair of curly braces. Now what else is going to do is it's going to be action if the condition is false. So in which case this condition somehow returns false, it's going to go to the else block and do whatever we tell it in here. So system.out.println, no, the statement is false. So now run your code and we know that this statement line 4 is false. So when we run our code, we see that it gives us no, the statement is false because this is incorrect. Remember previously, nothing would happen, because there would be nothing else to do when the statement was false. But in this case, since we've added an else block, it's kind of like a safety net. What should you do if this is not true? Now, let me do this again. If I change this statement to or, remember, or means that at least one of the statements have to be met. 15 is less than 10? No. 15 less than 100? Yes. Which means that this case is true. If it's true, it's supposed to run this code in here, right? And it does, because the else statement isn't even going to get considered if this part is true. So if your condition is true, then it's going to do what comes in the if block, and it's not even going to look at your else block. So go ahead, run your code, and you'll see that the else block doesn't affect it at all if the condition is true, because it said, yes, the statement is true. Okay, guys. That was our if, else, as well as if statements tutorial. Again, I think the logic really makes sense. As you guys get older, as you guys get more complicated in Java, these conditions are going to get a lot harder. So they will not be like common sense, like 20 is greater than 5 sort of thing, right? Okay, so that was it for this week's videos. I had so much fun with y'all this week, and I cannot wait for next week. Bye, guys.